Hulk Hogan has been caught in yet another lie. In this video, I'm going to share it because while speaking with Chris Van Vliet, Hogan did what Hogan does best, and that's tell stories. And not all of them are true. In fact, I did a video looking at some of his more famous stories that he's told over the years, and I will link that down in the commentary below. But Hulk Hogan, what a dude. So while speaking with Chris Van Vliet, Hulk Hogan was talking about his career, WrestleMania 18 with The Rock, various things. And then at one point he was asked, you know, what was the whole thing with him and Shane at WrestleMania 39? Well, that was in reference to a previous interview that Hulk Hogan did, where he talked about how Shane McMahon had called him one day and said, hey, do you want to wrestle at WrestleMania 39, which was in 2023? Well, it turns out that Hogan not only twisted it, but told a completely different story this time, which is something that Hogan does quite a bit. And now Fightful Select has debunked it. So let's first start off with what Hulk Hogan had to say. Hogan said, Shane had called me, sent me a picture from Madison Square Garden. I guess they had a Hall of Fame walk in there. Shane sent a picture and standing in front of my stuff. And he goes, hey, old timer, you got one left in you. I went, oh, okay. What are you thinking? He goes, well, I don't know if you have one more left in you or maybe a surrogate such as Nick, in reference to Hulk Hogan's son, Nick Hogan. He continued. So we started talking, and I said the only way that I could do anything is if I was in the middle of the ring and you just came to me, because I can't run, hit the ropes. I have a hard time walking distance. Taking a bump, if I got up, I have to roll to my left. I can't roll to my right. The only way I can get up is if I roll to my left. So it would be a stretch for Nick. And then he went off on this tangent. He talked about how Nick was at Rikishi's school a couple years ago and that he was in there with Rusev and all those other guys out in California, and he watched him, and Nick had figured it out. But then he blew both of his shoulders out, and I said, well, I don't know. There's a possibility to maybe doing something. Whatever the storyline is, maybe Nick is a heel. And then he went on and talked about how, well, maybe the angle could be that Shane destroyed Hulk Hogan's career, so he's going to come back and get revenge, which doesn't make any sense either. And he continued. I don't know. There's a million ways to do it, but then a couple of weeks later, Shane got hurt or something with his quad. Excuse me. As Chris pointed out, he was like, Shane McMahon wrestled at WrestleMania 39, and he's like, oh, well, and then he just went off. Fast forward. Fightful Select reports that, in fact, this was a lie. There was never any plans for Hulk Hogan to wrestle at WrestleMania 39. There was never any plans for his son to wrestle at 39, right? One higher up in WWE who saw the interview said, and I quote, in no way is that true. I can't think of a time in the last 13 or 14 years that Nick Hogan's name was brought up, much less in a creative capacity. There's never been a serious conversation about him being involved in anything that I can think of. Even when Hulk would mention him being involved in things, there just wasn't an interest or a benefit to that. So there you have it. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. The kid's never wrestled in his life. Supposedly, he trained, and he probably did. I mean, he's Hulk Hogan's kid, right? He at least had to consider it. He went and trained. He blew his shoulders out, and then at that point, they're like, oh, well, we just can't do this no more. Like, you don't go from, I want to do it, I figured it out, I love this, oh, I got injured once, I don't want to ever do that again. It just doesn't happen with just blowing your shoulder out, right? Like, and what does that mean exactly? So I don't know. It's Hogan. Hogan does Hogan things. It's a good interview. I would recommend going and checking it out. Just take what he says with a grain of salt. Like at one point he talked about how him and Andre worked a match in Baltimore on a concrete ring. I don't even know what that means. What does a concrete ring mean? Now, does he mean it felt like concrete? That's how stiff the boards were? Sure, that is what he's most likely talking about. But he made it seem like there was literally a pile of concrete, and that was it. There was no wood, there was no metal. It was just a concrete ring. I've never seen that before, so that doesn't make any sense. And I fast forward through his talk about the WrestleMania 18 match with The Rock. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It is what it is. I just could not do it. But Hulk Hogan, back at it again.